at least not getting our icons working. This is again from the Midland Airport, which is where that tornado hit, and you know what? That tornado is back. Luckily, again, it's going to be more rural areas, but I still want to make sure we're staying on the air and we're telling you about this because, hey, any of these storms that pop up, not only can they go severe, but they can also produce tornadoes. That's going to go on until about 11 o'clock tonight. So here's what I got for you. Mainly focusing on 3 large areas where we're seeing the most kind of storm activity. Model data was saying most of it should be farther out to the east. Well, the models can be wrong. It's also my job to be wrong. But hey, this is of course still going to be that main storm that just kind of sat over top of Midland. It's now mainly in Upton County, just to the east of Midkiff, or just to the west of Midkiff, excuse me. That's where we're seeing that tornado warning. It's now going to be in effect until about 7:15. Latest from the National Weather Service. Same storm spotters that were kind of watching this thing, they have spotted it come back on the ground. While it might not have the most definitive type of hook echo here, it's something we're still going to continue to watch, especially considering very large sized hail. Notice that the severe thunderstorm warning box is bigger than the actual storm itself. That's because not only are we seeing very large sized hail, over 2 inches up to 3 inches in diameter, but we're also seeing just a whole lot of activity surrounding it. Notice you can actually kind of see a little bit of this kind of later. Notice little pop-up little things just moving out from the storm. Those are outflow boundaries. Those are going to be extremely strong winds associated as a lot of these storms form, and basically as they begin to die out as well. You guys remember a little bit earlier today we had a dust advisory for Midland, Odessa, and even Andrews. Well, go back 2 days, go back to Tuesday. Remember just before we had, again, another round of severe weather, we had a dust storm warning, and it was just basically a large haboob moving through much of West Texas. Yeah, that was actually the outflow boundary of a large-scale storm that was hitting Dallas earlier that morning, where they got 80-mile-per-hour straight-line winds. Now, are these going to be creating large straight-line winds out to the west? Yes, just maybe not on as large of a scale. And you know what? That's actually quite a good thing, because that's the last thing we want is more damage from areas not even affected by some of these storms. Moving farther south towards Sanderson. I've been talking for a while. Yeah. We're starting to see south of Interstate 90, actually heading now into Mexico. That is going to be another tornado warned storm. Radar was barely able to pick up anything earlier today, but it's also near the border of where our radar just doesn't work anymore because of the curvature of the Earth. You know, radar, as much as it points straight, the planet is not flat, so it doesn't really work beyond that. All right, going back up to the north. Whew, got dizzy doing that. All right, we got another severe thunderstorm warning that's going to be moving past Denver City and heading towards Seminole. There were reports of at least a little bit of rotation earlier. You can kind of see a little bit of that little tail kind of hanging out earlier. A lot of that has kind of clumped itself together into a single cell, so I'm not seeing anything too significant. Still getting reports of at least 2-inch sized hail within this storm as well. That is going to be from a lot of the Seminole people with the National Weather Service. They're focusing on a lot of this. This is going to be in effect until about 7:30 as well. So a lot of activity. Can we see that rotation a little bit? Notice just the rotation itself. It looks to be kind of rotating in on itself, kind of going, yep, yeah. I know I can't dance either. I'm not trying to dance, but I'm trying to show you that the rotation itself is beginning to kind of fall apart a little bit. And that is going to be the best kind of case scenario, especially considering it's not near any large-scale major cities. We're not looking at very big population areas, but I want to make sure if you are in any of these areas that you are taking cover immediately. Again, this is that same tornado that ripped its way through the Midland Airport. And of course, again, we're looking at very large sized hail associated with this. So Jordan, what can we really expect over the next couple of days, couple of hours? What have we got going on? Well, tonight, it's going to be the calm after the storm. And thank goodness we're dropping down into the 60s too, because after a lot of this, we might not have power for a bit too. You got a lot of broken power lines from the straight line winds, large sized hail too. You might have holes in your windows, in your car, you name it. So you know what? 66, not too terribly bad. What about your golfing forecast for tomorrow? It's Friday. You always got to go golfing. Doesn't matter if there was a tornado the day before. Well, you know what? It's actually not a bad day to do so. But here's what I got in terms of models for the next couple of days. All right, this is for tonight. Still looking at some of these larger storms, but they are going to be moving out. We wouldn't have to worry about them for too much longer. Now, the HRRR model tends to be a little bit, not necessarily, a little bit more ambitious. That's the word I'm looking for. Ambitious with a lot of our storms. We're continuing a lot of this stuff as we continue, especially out toward Snyder, even out a little bit toward Big Spring. Early tomorrow morning, I'm not looking at major kind of supercells, but enough that you're going to hear a few rumbles of thunder. You might even see a quick little flash flooding. Am I looking at severe weather chances? Yes, but they're very small. But of course, even small chances could bring something up. That's why I will show you different models. I want to get you an idea of, hey, here's what I'm seeing from different models. It could turn out either way. It could turn out like none of them. That's how weather works. There's so many different little variables. Even heading into early Friday morning, maybe a little bit trying to push its way into Midland, Ector County. Still just not seeing a whole lot of supporting evidence with that. Going into late on Friday, again, maybe a couple little storms out in southeastern New Mexico and even in our northeastern regions. The IBM model is actually going a little bit more conservative on this, which tends to be the case with the IBM one, not showing anything for Big Spring and Snyder, really popping up until late Friday evening around 11 o'clock. Big Spring, Snyder, quick little isolated showers, maybe a quick little thunderstorm as well. All right, we're going to continue to see a lot of this cloud cover just kind of hanging around as well. And you know what? Saturday, boy, oh boy, we're going to see more activity on Saturday. We're not really getting much of a break from a lot of this, especially moving out toward Pecos, out toward Fort Stockton, even out toward Odessa and Midland. Maybe avoiding us, but you know what? It doesn't look to be stopping anytime soon. Severe thunderstorm outlook for tomorrow. Still just that level 2 risk for places like Big Lake, San Angelo, Ozona, and even Abilene. Of course, even heading out toward Brady as well. Here's a quick look at that 9-day forecast, and then we're going to jump right back into the radar, show you a lot of that tornado coverage. Still, showers, thunderstorms, isolated basically going into the weekend. Once we get rid of a lot of this rain, strong thunderstorms, we are back with that triple-digit heat. That triple-digit heat, unfortunately, is going to be hanging around for quite a bit of time. All right, we're going to continue this tornado coverage as we push into this evening because I haven't had enough time to talk yet. You're probably sick of me, and I don't blame you. Don't drink water too fast, guys. So, I was showing you this tornado warning storm earlier. This is the same one that moved through Midland and Ector County earlier today, literally within the last about hour and a half. Unfortunately, this tornado is just refusing to go away. As a matter of fact, latest from the National Weather Service is showing that yes, storm spotters have spotted it on the ground, but here, I'm going to play it. I'm going to actually loop it through for you guys so you can actually see what we got going on. You could see a bit of that loop and that hook echo kind of curving in on itself. It's actually, the more it becomes part of the actual thunderstorm, the more it begins to fall apart. Mid-Kiff, you guys are still going to be under that severe thunderstorm warning. The tornado looks to be avoiding it, not even passing through 349 right now. So that's certainly good news. I still want you guys to make sure you're staying in cover for a little bit, considering we got that severe thunderstorm warning. And of course, we still have large-sized hail associated with this storm that refuses to let go. And it's because we have just, unfortunately, the right kind of atmosphere. We've had the right kind of atmosphere for the last couple of days. So there are two things typically needed for a storm itself to form. You're going to need heat and you're going to need humidity. And, well, it's West Texas. We don't usually have the humidity, but we have the heat, especially when you get up into the 80s and into the 90s. Yeah, triple digits, though, That also helps to fuel some of these showers and thunderstorms, especially severe storms. But when we get up into the triple digits, we usually don't have that kind of humidity. Just because the atmosphere itself, it warms up and cools down very quickly when it's dry. When it's very humid, it can't do that, which is why the farther west we go, places like New Mexico, Arizona, it might even be hotter than West Texas because it is just so much drier. We're just not seeing a lot of that kind of activity. So here's the best news. Looks like the National Weather Service has gone ahead and issued that thunderstorm or that tornado warning to be much smaller. With that in mind, that's where we're seeing a minimal impact, and that storm looks to be kind of wrapping itself out. Literally wrapping. No, I don't mean like the singing. I mean like it's kind of curving in on itself and collapsing that actual funnel cloud. So that is actually going to be the best kind of situation in something like this. Let's actually watch what I got for a bit of that rotation. We're going to go ahead and loop it through so you guys can see exactly what's going on. Yeah, it's kind of beginning to fall apart on itself a little bit. You can really see it more visually, at least when we got the radar itself moving through. This was over the last 2 hours. So even if I were to zoom out, just show you the last 2 hours of this storm itself, it is really slow moving. So over the last 2 hours, we had the actual wind rotation issued in northern parts of Midland, and then it's now just moving into Upton County. So it took 2 hours for this storm to just go from one county to the other. That's why it is an extremely dangerous kind of situation. You have strong storms like this hanging over one area for a very long period of time. It doesn't look to be going anywhere anytime soon. So I got another storm for you because one storm is never enough. No, so we got this one storm that's going to be out in Sanderson. This one was actually tornado warned earlier by storm spotters, and it went away and then it came back again, just like the one we're seeing in Midland and Upton counties. So this one just south of Sanderson was actually spotted by storm spotters themselves. We're continuing to keep an eye on it, especially considering the warning itself is extended until about 7:30, but the storm is beginning to move closer past the border and out of the United States. We're getting reports right now, at least a tornado and baseball-sized hail. That is actually just going to be radar indicated. The storm spotters have not seen anything. Granted, you're getting really just close to the border of the United States and Mexico at that point. Of course, that's going to just stay over the rural areas of south central Terrell County. Keeping an eye on it, of course. The other thunderstorm I'm keeping my eye on is the one going to be sitting over top of Seminole. It looks to be quite large-sized hail now with this. There was a little bit of rotation earlier today. Does not look to be the case right now. Let me go ahead and loop that for you, show you exactly what it looked like. Kind of popped up in Denver City, went through, had that rotation, and is now sitting just to the south of Texas 83 and north of Highway 180, north of Seminole by, I would say, give or take 5-10 miles or so. Keeping an eye on it because that looks to be a decently large hail core. So let me pause it and actually zoom in, especially where you're seeing that white just to the south of Seagraves. That's where you're, well, actually, latest radar loop not showing that white. So that's certainly going to be some good information there. Basically, the white means, well, you can kind of see it on the radar key, means very heavy rain. It typically also means very heavy and large-sized hail. Continuing to keep an eye on it. Looks like we're getting rain itself about 19 inches an hour within just that purple. Whew. That is certainly going to be a lot of activity as well. So here's what I'm continuing to watch as we head into this afternoon. A lot of thunderstorms. Let's go ahead on the big zoom out look. Continuing to watch a number of thunderstorms moving across the Permian Basin, moving across West Texas, you name it. Unfortunately, it's not going to be going away anytime soon. We're watching 3 major systems. We got one over top of Seminole. We got another one over top of Midkiff, and we got another one just to the south of Sanderson. Still got about, looks like about 9 more minutes left on that tornado warning. So that's certainly going to give us at least a little bit of time to take it a little bit easy. Still seeing a bit more of that activity. And you know what? We're still seeing a little bit of that activity. tornado warning in effect until about 7:15, and we still have all kinds of pictures that you guys are continuing to send in from a lot of these storms, thunderstorms, tornadoes as well. Hey, if you are able to, once this stuff passes, be sure to go out and take pictures, especially for yourself, for insurance reasons as well. Isn't that right, Crystal?
Yeah, we'll be talking about that in just a moment, but let's talk about the tornado that literally was on the ground at the airport. You are looking at that tornado right there. Out of a picture of one of our viewers sent us. We're so grateful for that. It was on the ground at the Midland Airport on the tarmac. Victor, who is an American Red Cross volunteer, actually sent us that scary picture. The force of the winds were incredibly frightening. Now, here's a look at some of the damage from those winds. Let's take a look at this picture. No, not that one. This is actually the hail. There we go. There's the picture. This picture was actually taken by one of our viewers on Andrews Highway in Midland Drive. You can see the top carport above the gas pumps actually fell down, and of course, look at all that flooding. Now let's take a look at the hail that came smashing down right outside our News West 9 studios. We saw hail between nickel to ping pong ball size, but that was nothing compared to this. You are looking at softball size hail that pounded Midland. A lot of you, of course, will be spending the next few days dealing with damage from hail like this. Now, you may be looking at the damage that the storm has passed. Obviously, you'll be talking with your insurance company. So here's a bit of advice from one State Farm agent.
If you have repairable damage, make those reasonable temporary repairs to keep further damage from happening. You know, sometimes you hear that there's been a tornadic event and there's roof damage, and then another storm comes and it creates more water damage. So get those tarps up if it's safe to do so. And again, depending on your coverage, some of those repairs may be reimbursed, and save those receipts.
All right, you know, that's really important since we do have more storms in our forecast over the next few days. So Jordan, how are things looking right now?
We're still watching those two storms and those two tornado warnings in effect across the region. I'm going to zoom in, of course, on the main one we've been keeping our eye on, and that's the one in southern Midland and northern Upton County near 349. Looks to be just to the west of Midkiff, avoiding any major population areas. So that is again going to be a best case scenario in something like this. Still have that tornado warning in effect for the next about 6 minutes. We're keeping an eye on it. The latest information from the National Weather Service, they're just going to see that damaging tornado. Weather spotters have confirmed it to be on the ground. It is, of course, a particularly dangerous situation. You want to make sure you're staying in your safe place. Not seeing a whole lot of it actually moving around now. It looks to be actually moving to the west at about 20 miles an hour. So let's go ahead and actually play that through a little bit, because yeah, the actual tornado itself, it looks to be kind of getting wrapped back up into the storm and then kind of just moving a little bit to the west, because before it was moving to the southeast. But let's go ahead and actually pull up not just the radar and the satellite, but also the velocity. So that's where we're starting to see just maybe not as well defined rotation, which is kind of going to be the best case scenario. So that's where you're seeing a lot of it. Yeah, it looks to be kind of falling apart a little bit, maybe even moving a little bit to the west. So again, best case scenario, especially if you're out in Midkiff, not seeing a whole lot of that activity out there. I am curious if I can go all the way down to what we have out in Sanderson. It looks like that the actual rotation itself too, we're actually picking up the radar all the way from it looks like in between Uvalde and Spofford and Bracketville. That's where our radar is for this storm out in Sanderson. That one is actually, again, going to be actually moving down into Mexico now, where we're getting those very bright greens and the bright reds, where we're just not seeing a whole lot of activity just hanging around us locally. That's going to be the best kind of situation. Let's go ahead and look over at the one in Seminole. Still seeing just maybe a small amount of rotation, but it's just going to be very isolated across the area. Here's what we're getting, at least from the radar to the north. That's going to be, of course, the one up in Lubbock. We're kind of in between the two radars at this point when we're this far north. Still just seeing maybe some small rotation, but not enough to actually issue any kind of severe, there is a severe thunderstorm warning. It's going to take till 7:30, but any kind of tornado warning. So zooming on out with me again, guys. I know it's a lot. There's a lot going on. It's okay. We got this. We are West Texas strong, that's for sure. Here we go. Here's that one storm out in Midkiff. Still going to have that flash flood warning in effect for places like Midland, Greenwood, Spraberry, and almost the far eastern parts of Odessa. Still keeping an eye on a lot of this. It's still just a real big bit of a mess when it comes to our activity throughout the day. So here, let me go ahead and pop up some information from the National Weather Service while I have the radar on for you guys. See what they're saying on here. See if we're getting any multiple reports coming in as well. I'm going to go ahead and loop this through for you guys so you can kind of see what we got going on. All right. We're going to see, excuse me. Still, looks like National Weather Service might be heading out some survey teams starting tomorrow morning to see potential damage paths. I mentioned this before. We can never really tell you how strong a tornado is until after it has moved its way through. We used to rate the tornadoes themselves on the scales of the Fujita scale, like F1 to F5. Those were just based on wind speed alone. Now we use the enhanced Fujita scale, the EF scale, EF0 to EF5. That is actually going to determine the damage more so based on the not just wind speed, but also the damage within it as well. So we're continuing to watch a lot of this. Looks like we're seeing, oh wow, we're getting some large amounts of hail popping up, at least in, looks to be out in Seagraves. Yeah, you got that tornado, the severe thunderstorm warning in effect. Still got that severe thunderstorm warning in effect now that is moving farther and farther south toward Rankin a little bit, maybe in between toward Crane. Spotter network looks to be showing reports of about 1.5 inches of hail 15 miles to the northeast of Crane. That looks to be on par with where we're seeing kind of the edge of that tornado warning. Still in effect for about another minute. Continuing to look at the situation as we continue on and head into this evening, because boy, oh boy, it has been quite a busy evening as well. So I'm going to jump right into this, the enhanced Fujita scale. Certainly very interesting to see exactly how a lot of these tornadoes and the kind of damages that they can cause. So you got something like an EF1, very minor damage, going to be something along the lines maybe 65 to 86 miles an hour. And again, it's based on both just wind as well as damage. You're going to see power outages. You're going to see damage to gutters and sidings. You're going to see your shingles peeled off. You're also going to see large branches broken off as well. You start to get up to EF1, okay, you're going to start to see a little bit more roof damage. You're going to see these poles that can be toppled over. You're going to see broken windows, small trees being uprooted as well. This is between 86 to 110 miles an hour. EF2, that's when, ooh, yeah, you start to see a bit more of that damage. Cars can be flipped over. Most poles are going to be knocked over in its entirety. Larger trees uprooted and roofs ripped away. So that's why we always say go to the safest part of your bottom floor. All right, going up to an EF5, yikes. Entire floors are going to be destroyed. We're talking about 136 to 165 miles an hour. Severe damage. Vehicles, they're going to be moving around. Bark is going to be stripped from the trees. Most objects, most standing objects are going to be toppled as well. You get up to an EF4, whew, cars are going to be thrown in the air. Most of your homes are going to be leveled, and much of the landscape is going to be almost entirely stripped. That's between 166 and 200 miles an hour. That, again, is also going to be extreme. EF5, extremely rare. You're going to see almost completely, everything almost completely gone. Homes completely swept away, some concrete ripped from the ground, and grass is also going to be ripped from the ground as well. So just a lot of activity as well We're also going to continue to watch the situation, double check on the radar real quick, but we're also going to toss it over to Crystal Cruz. She's giving me the signal, a lot of pictures, a lot of videos you guys are sending in. Go ahead and take it away, Crystal.
Actually, Jordan, we just got this in. Marcos Fuentes just sent us this picture from Sanderson area. And as you can see, that looks like a tornado right there. He tells us this was at the intersection of 2400 and Highway 285 between Sanderson and Fort Stockton. So look how scary that is. I mean, that's pretty amazing. I don't know how much the wind was packing, but it looks like he's driving pretty quickly to get away from it. Now let's take a look at this tornado. This is the tornado that was on the tarmac at the Midland Airport earlier. Victor, who's an American Red Cross volunteer, sent this picture in to us. Such a scary sight. I have to tell you, we're about 5 minutes away from the airport, and it was incredibly frightening. We were actually all in the control room while you were out here doing the forecast. So anyways, keep sending those photos in. We'll have more of that tonight at 10. I'm going to send it back over to you, Jordan.
Thanks a lot, Crystal. Appreciate everything you guys have been doing to help me out here, because we still have that one tornado warning south of Sanderson. That's still that one tornado that we actually saw that video of, but it has basically moved its way out of our region. And of course, best news as well is we have that one tornado warning that was over toward Midkiff that has also expired now, and we are just left with that severe thunderstorm warning. So we're going to keep our eyes on a lot of these storms as they continue throughout the evening, especially keeping my eye on this other storm up near Seminole. But hey, we will be back, and I will be back on air in case of any updates. So go ahead and take it easy.